Is dedicated employee a myth? Actually, hiring itself is an extremely complex process. It is very difficult to get the right employee. Now, let's put it for some other video as to how to hire. But let's assume that you have hired the right person. Okay, he's got the right character, he's got the right competence, and you're finally happy that I've got the right guy. And from next day, you expect that he's going to be supremely dedicated to your company and give his heart, soul, everything, and you're going to have a long association. Now, that may not be true because even if you've hired the right person, whether he'll be going to be dedicated to you or not depends on how you nurture the employee. And there are four levels of nurturing which any employee can have, and that largely depends on the HR and the boss of the employee. Now, let's look at the four levels one by one. So, level number one. Now, let's call this guy a Z player. He comes to the company only to earn his paycheck. His motivation is मेरे को पैसा चाहिए, जो पैसा देगा मैं उसके लिए काम करेगा. But actually not. वो काम भी नहीं करेगा शायद. Because you have not hired him, you have only hired his body. So you'll ensure that 9 o'clock is going to be there, sometimes not even that, 9:15, 9:30, और 5 बजे तक में रहेगा. And not even that, because पौने 5 बजे he'll be ready to go home. So he's there to do the work which is told to him. He'll drag his feet. He becomes a pain for the manager, a source of stress for the manager. But at least you have somebody. That's the only satisfaction you have with such guys. And unfortunately, in many organizations, such force becomes a majority of the organization. So when I was a new trainer, when I started my career in training, I used to work for corporates. And believe it or not, I used to stay the whole night, sometimes late hours, preparing myself for the next session because I wanted to give everything that I had to the trainees. And within one day, I had to make an impact, or within 2 days, I had to make an impact. So I used to be really thinking hard, how should I explain this? What takeaways they're going to have? And 8:30 in the morning, I used to be there. 9 o'clock, we start the seminar. The whole day, I used to be pouring my heart, soul, energy, giving them examples, aisa karo, aisa karo. And people used to be interacting with me. And sometimes during the lunch break, or maybe the second tea break, I would see these 7, 8 guys coming to me. Sir, थोड़ा बात करने का. Initially, I was very excited. चलो, that means I'm reaching them. कुछ doubts पूछने होंगे. How do I use the contents? Sir, 2 ही मिनट चाहिए. She said, नहीं नहीं यार 10 मिनट ले लो, बोलो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. He says, सर ऐसा है ना कि 4:45 ना कंपनी का बस निकलता है, तो आपका सेशन 5 बजे तक है. सो इफ यू कंटिन्यू टिल 5 तो वो बस मिस हो जाएगा, फिर हमको अपने आप घर जाना पड़ेगा. तो आप थोड़ा 4:30 बजे तक वाइंड अप कर सकते हैं क्या? करेंगे तो थोड़ा अच्छा रहेगा. एंड माई हार्ट यूज टू सिंक. So look at these fellows. The company has gone through so many efforts to identify their training needs. The HR departments talk to trainers, they have interviews with them. So many man hours are spent in identifying that this guy needs communication training. And then now here he is, 2 days away from his work, sitting in front of me so that he could learn. The whole facility is hired. My air ticket has been paid for. My hotel stay has been paid for. Just for 2 days of training, the company spent lakhs of rupees. And all these men are concerned about is whether they're going to get their bus back home. Why the hell am I spending my energy and sleepless nights to teach them anything? They have got no desire to learn. So this is the case of these employees, and they are called the compliance employees. They will only agree to the set of rules that have been laid out by the company and nothing beyond that. If majority of the people in your company belong to this category, start praying to God. Now let's go to the second set. The second set is called as people who are committed. Uh, let's call them Y set of employees. Now these are the people who will not only give their body, but also apply their mind. They are very aware why the company has hired me. Probably they are getting a good pay. And so they want to make sure that even if they switch, they get a good hike. And so they always want to ensure that the company gets the ROI for the salary being paid to them. The company should get return on investment. So they will apply their mind and see to it that company gets exactly a little more than what they're being paid for. Because they know if that doesn't happen, their track record is going to go bad. What such people need is direction as to what the company exactly expects from them. Because mind you, there are committed employees, but if you don't give them direction, they are not going to be an asset for you. In fact, they'll switch over sooner than what you think for a higher salary because they don't get any direction. So in this process, it is the mistake of the company not to make use of such a good resource. The major tool for making good use of them is training. So once you give them effective training, then these guys can work wonders. The only problem here is they are very cutthroat. They won't go beyond a particular limit. So if it's 5 o'clock, they'll say it's 5 o'clock, मैं घर जा रहा हूँ. बाकी का सब मैं कल करूंगा. I'll do it, but I'll do it tomorrow. So that little extra which is required, and sometimes you feel cheated. Arey, come on, yaar. I mean, that customer is waiting for you. 15 minute और दे दे and help him. Sir, customer कहाँ भागा जा रहा है? कल सुबह करेंगे फोन. So they are committed, but you can't expect anything extra from them. Now let's go to the third level. The third level is what we call as engagement. Now here, the game changes a little bit. You have hired the body, you have hired the mind, but you also have the heart. The person is engaged in the company. He starts caring for the company. He wants to give his best. And here he would wait for a little extra because he cares for the customer, he cares for his boss, he cares for the company, and of course, he cares for himself. We call such people X players. So he has reached the X level. Mind you, we are talking about the same employee, okay? So it's not as if the first one is Z. You have hired a good employee, but probably you have made him Z. Uh, but if he has a compliance level, he's Z. If it has a commitment level, he's Y. But when he comes to the engagement level, he becomes X. And he starts giving his best to the company. Now, why does he give his best? Because he has somebody in the company he thinks who cares for him beyond his work. He cares for him as a human being. So maybe there are one-on-one meets. There are times when you are being coached, you are being guided, you are being advised. And he knows that if I have a problem, I have somebody whom I can go to. So the leader or the manager plays a very big role here. It's as if the leader tells him, जा बिंदास काम कर, I have your back. Don't worry. कुछ भी हुआ तो मैं इधर है, बिंदास करो. So he is ready to take risks. He is ready to learn. He is ready to go the extra mile for the company. Now let me give you an example over here. So at one of my one of my mentors, uh, who used to work for a company called Johnson and Johnson, and it's as to how you can become a leader as well as how you can nurture people. Because this person I'm talking about was a finance head and he's a chartered accountant. So he had nothing to do with people and HR. But every day while coming to the factory, uh, the local language being Marathi and he being a Maharashtrian, used to talk to the workers, ask them, what's your name? Who is there in your family? Remember it just for no reason because he cared for those people. He asked them, okay, your son was in 10th. How did he fare? How were the exams? Your wife had to go to undergo an operation. Was it successful? That's all he did. But slowly and steadily, those workers started liking him. ये साहब अच्छे हैं. Eventually, the company had a big strike and there was a deadlock. The management was just not ready to budge. And the workers wanted tremendous hike. And everybody thought this strike is not going to end. And it could be a dead end for the company itself. And while they were discussing, when it was none of his business, this person said, if you don't mind, I can try. I can talk to them. Because inside the company, everybody used to call the company Tension and Tension, which rhymes with the name of the original company, which I wouldn't want to take here. So he went and talked to all the people. Actually, he almost like mentored 130 people, talked to them, and thankfully was able to reverse the strike, saved the company, and eventually was groomed as the future leader of the company. So this is what empathy can do. Empathy can actually help you take the employee to the level of engagement. But the real magic lies at the final level. But before we go to that, I would like to tell you, in case you want to do the audit of your own company, find out where your employees are, you can go to the description down there and click on the link below and download a free audit form so that you know what is the composition of employees in your company. Now let's come to the fourth level. And the fourth level is what we call as the level of dedication. We are wondering whether such employees exist, but here you have an employee who applies his body, mind, heart, and his soul to the company. His whole identity is attached to the identity of a company. Uh, he very he very proudly tells everybody in the society, I work there. I'm proud to be a part of that company. And if need be, he would put his own identity at stake to save the company. ऐसा एम्प्लॉय होता है क्या आजकल? होता है, हमारे इंडिया में ही है. Think and remember the time when we had the terrorist attacks at the Taj, and at that time there was many guests inside the hotel, and who saved them? Even before the police, the energy commandos came in to take charge, the people who kept them safe were the very own employees of the Taj Hotel. These were common people who came from middle class families, who were not rich, who were not trained commandos, who did not have guns, but they had dedication and they had courage. I have heard a story where one of the employees had actually safely come out of the hotel, and when he came out, he came to know that inside there are terrorists. So he went back inside to save the lives of the guest. He did save the lives of the guest, but in the process, he lost his own life. Now, these were not soldiers, where it was a part of their duty to lay down their life to save the honor of the country. These were normal employees, but they actually took that credo of Atiti Devo Bhava very, very seriously. So we do have dedicated employees. And if you can nurture them, we call them 10x. Now it depends on the HR department and the leadership of the organization as to whether you can. So actually we hire an X. So if your hiring process is right, you get an X, you don't get a Z. Okay, if your hiring process is wrong, you may hire a Z. But if the hiring process is right, you hire an X. But by your own undoing, you make him a X or a Y, or you maintain him to be X. But if you nurture him, he could be 10x. And these 10x people are the future leaders of your company. These 10x people are the future leaders of your company. So if you have, and the goal of every company should be to have all the people as 10x in the organization. So if your company is full of 10x, you should thank your HR and your leadership, and you are doing a wonderful job. But if you have Z, something is wrong with the hiring process. The HR needs to pull up its socks, and the leaders need to go and have a relook at themselves at the mirrors, because they need to work on themselves. I hope you have liked the video. If you have, click on the like button. Don't forget to hit on the bell icon so that you get a notification when the next video is released. And if you have already not done it, please subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel grow and take this message to more and more entrepreneurs like you. Thank you so much.